All right. My name is Trevor Johansson. I work for the Division of Aquatic Resources on the Aquatic Invasive Species team. And this week, I was lucky enough to go with Uncle Wally to Sandy's Beach and do a kilo Limu, where we were able to walk around, observe all the Limu there on the beach. I learned a lot from him. And it was really fun. So I'm going to share a video of that with you. And then Uncle Wally is going to come up and present as well. So for those of you who don't know Uncle Wally, he was just awarded this year's Community Hero Award from the Hawaii Invasive Species Council for all the great work he's doing with communities and organizations promoting native Limu species and native Limu restoration here on Oahu. I feel like a lot of our work that we do at DAR with the state is kind of focusing on the negative invasive species, but it's great that he's out there promoting the positive beneficial native Limu species. And I think that's really important. So with that, I'll get the video started. Unfortunately, out there at Sandy's, it was a little windy and the waves were pretty loud. So we had our Limu, our kilo Limu, and then we were recorded, kind of continued the conversation inside. And so I'll play that over some of the video of us walking around. And then we'll come back and Wally will talk. So you work here and you work in Eva too. What are some of the other sites that you do a lot of work? Or do you kilo all around the island?
Well, two main sites over here in Oneula. And because we try to see what's happening, we cannot be all over the place. Mm-hmm. So we selected these two places. Well, Oneula in particular because that's where Uncle Henry learned about Limu, and that's where we tell a story about the loss of Limu at Oneula. And over here is because of you can see the rich, the abundance and diversity of Limu.
Mm-hmm. So what is, you kind of explained this before, but what is the purpose? What are you doing when you're out here walking, doing your kilo? What's the purpose behind it?
It's a big part of it is to try to relearn what Hawaiians used to know. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot from Uncle Mac Poipoi as far as marine resource, ecosystem management. And it's all about, and he said, I learned a lot from Uncle Mac, and one of the things that I learned from him is that you cannot manage what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And the way to know, to learn is you just gotta go. Mm-hmm. You gotta go and you gotta look and you gotta observe, and over time, things are gonna come clearer to you. Mm-hmm. So, and you asked earlier if we go to other places. We do, but it's not to it's to see what's there at that particular point in time. But so these two sites, Vavamalu and Oneula, we try to go there year round and see what's happening over time.
Yeah. What are some of the other groups? Because I know you work with a lot of nonprofit and community organizations here, but also too, do you work with other organizations on other islands, to kind of share all this information that you're learning? And
so we formed the Limu Hui. First gathering was in 2014, and a statewide network of Limu practitioners, people who still go down to gather Limu, go down to kilo, and the original intent of the Limu Hui was to recapture and retell the cultural knowledge, maintain the cultural knowledge about Limu, Hawaiian cultural knowledge about Limu. Mm-hmm. There's now created a groups of people who are doing Limu restoration. Yeah, understanding the importance of Limu to the nearshore fishery, and as far as um, maintaining or resurrecting or bringing back our fishery. It's all based on Limu. So there are groups who are trying to do that, to try to restore Limu, doing Limu restoration work. But a big part of that effort is not so much is focused on Limu, but a big part of it, that effort is not so much to bring Limu back, but to create community, to restore community. And any type of restoration effort, or even invasive species removal effort, without the community involvement, it's going to be like a short-lived project. And short-lived, by short-lived I mean dependent on funding and interests of people. And in order for any type of that type of work to continue or to be effective, it has to continue for, we're talking generations of people. And so in order for that to happen, it's got to be community involvement. People in the community, they want to, they live there, they depend on the resources, so it's their effort that's going to continue for generations.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered that question correctly, but
well, that's what I wanted to talk to you, because I've said this a little bit before, but you work with us, with the state, but also with the communities, and a lot of what's going on in the communities. What do you think is some things that maybe kind of get lost between the community side and like us as managers trying to manage the resources,
Yeah, and so prior to European contact, the Hawaiians developed this ahupua'a resource management system, and the magic of the ahupua'a system is it encompasses everything from the top of the mountain to the shoreline and beyond. And so they understood that everything works together, works integrated together, and it's not like today the konohiki was the resource management manager of the ahupua'a system.
Oh, okay.
Today, a modern version of the konohiki is you folks, DLNR, but to me, the magic of the Hawaiian system is the konohiki had oversaw everything from the top of the mountain to the ocean and beyond. Today, our konohiki, the DLNR, is separate.
Yeah.
We
It's
have
divided.
The aquatic, the division of aquatic resources. We have the forest division. We have even the enforcement division, and it's all like separate.
Yeah.
And the thing about the old Hawaiian system is that because everything is integrated, it works together. What happens of Mauka affects our Limu, and what we do with our Limu here and our estuary and the shoreline is a huge effect on Mauka, the stream organisms, and so that's a big part of what's missing in the modern resource management system. For me, the focus of, as far as resource management, the focus of our state should be on creating resilient communities, so the communities can manage their resources.
Yeah.
And not so much. I think I mentioned to you this at one at a prior conversation. Don't need to focus on invasive algae removal in certain places. Focus on teaching teaching about Limu, teaching about invasive species to the community, and have the community manage and to manage their invasive species
Yeah.
on their own. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm using invasive species as an example.
Uh-huh.
Um,
But there could be lots of roles for the community to help managers.
yes, yeah, I have the community do that. You know?
Uh-huh.
And I've been advocating for DLNR to create teams of teachers rather than teams of like invasive removal. You know, resource managers create teams to teach the community how to do it.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to you earlier about, as you saw when you were younger, the Limu is very healthy, and now it's declining. And I could talk to you more about that, but also I'm interested in talking about the community. Have you seen, how has the community changed? Back when you were younger, was there a lot of community involvement and now there's not? Or are you seeing more like a resurgent in community involvement and interest in the environment and natural resources?
So that's a great question, and from my experience, yeah, like I've been spearfishing for like since 8 years old, so 60 plus years in the water, and there was a time, for actually a long period of time, when 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 I felt that there was no need to manage. The fish and limu was so abundant, there was no need to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't until I saw the decline of a fishery. Jump in the water and my kumu hole, only get no more kumu anymore. I used to, when for 20 plus years, every time I came across that hole, we could bring out at least one big kumu from that hole. You would see schools of like baby kumu swimming around, and it came to the point where when every time we go to that hole, no more kumu anymore. Hey, something is wrong here.
Yeah.
Somebody got to do something. If we continue, if nobody does anything, then this is what the future generation is going to see. No more kumu. And so for a time there was no need to think about management. No need to think about conservation, because there was plenty for everybody. But as the resource declined, now we got to think about what we're going to do. If we don't do anything, then we're not going to have our children, our grandchildren, 3, 4, 5 generations now. They're not going to know what it means to go, to pick limu, to go catch fish from the ocean, to take home and eat. The pandemic caused a lot of problems, but the pandemic showed us a lot too. In 2020, when the county closed off all of our beaches, we could still go diving. We just couldn't park in the beaches. We couldn't stay, use the beach. I'm sorry, the beach parks I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, access to beach parks were closed off, but we still could go diving. And so, in a short period of time, I continued to dive during that period, spearfish. And in a short period of time, this one reef out in Haula that I go to I've been diving there for close to 60 years, and I saw a period of high abundance of eels, moray eels, white eels, to like 20 plus years of not even seeing eels. And once the pandemic came along and there was less people accessing the ocean, in a short period of time, I saw 3 months into the pandemic, I see eels coming back, more eels.
Yeah.
Like baby eels, bigger eels. I haven't seen tohe. Tohe is the white eel. I haven't seen tohe on that reef for 20 plus years. Came across. It's
Wow.
like a big towhead.
Yeah.
And when I mention this to people, they say, "Oh, so what's the significance?" Yeah, and if you understand the food web of the reef system, eels or moray eels are the apex predators.
Uh-huh.
And if you have a healthy population in any kind of ecosystem, if you have a healthy population of the apex predators,
Mm-hmm.
that means every trophic level below that is healthy. It's got to support the apex predator population.
Mm-hmm.
And so people say, "Oh, moray eels, oh, that's not good. That's not good to see." Like, I welcome that because that tells me that the ecosystem is recovering and is nice and healthy.
There's enough to support even the predators,
Yeah,
the apex predators.
yeah.
Future, do you feel optimistic? Like there's signs of recovery, or are you kind of worried and concerned that maybe, from the 70s or when you were younger, there's just been a slow, steady decline, and you don't see any recovery?
I'm getting more and more optimistic,
Mm-hmm.
and mainly because in order for us to bring back our resources, yeah, our fishery, whatever resource, fishery resource, or dryland forest resource, in order for bring that back to abundance that we once knew, it's not so much about the resource itself. It's about human behavior. It's about changing human behavior. And the reason I say I'm optimistic is because we are I see a turn of of, of, of conversations
Mm-hmm.
about people understanding that we got to do something, and people understanding that everybody got to do something,
Mm-hmm.
and that's so that gives me optimism that um, things are going to get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. All right. I want to thank Uncle Wally for taking his time, sharing his wisdom with not only me, but all the other community groups and classes that he works with. All right. So with that, I'll give it to Uncle Wally. And yeah, thanks.
I hope you guys feel the same after I'm done and still applause. Something I learned watching that video, I need to work on my delivery. But also I was kind of laughing because I wish we had a microphone, because you saw that motion. Like, I wish we could share all that. That conversation was good.
The story of you getting bit by a turtle.
Oh.
Let's put that one.
Oh.
Yeah, you were swimming away.
Okay. So yeah, thanks for the invitation. Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate that. That was fun. Is Kate here?
No, she's 69.
Oh,
Yeah.
shucks. Because Kate was with us. Kate was the one doing the video. So, acknowledge her for that. Okay, I want to go through this really quick because I have like 30 something slides, and they said I have 30 minutes, so that means less than a minute a slide. And because I want to leave time for quick Q&As, yeah, we have about 15 minutes scheduled for Q&A. Okay, so Kilo Limu. This is the general outline of today's talk, and I'm gonna go through definitions, algae, limu, kilo, and talk about when we talk about traditional ecological knowledge, two of my many TEK heroes. We'll talk about Uncle Henry and Ever Beach Limu story, and Uncle Mac Poi Poi. And I love telling stories about Uncle Mac because I learned a lot about the shoreline and resource management from Uncle Mac. And then at the end, some of the community engagement projects that we've been involved with in the last couple of years. at least. So algae, a lot of people think that algae and Limu are synonymous. And I did a talk on Limu one time, and I talked about the modern science classification of algae: red, brown, green, blue, green. And in that classification also mentioned Halophila, seagrass. And then somebody knowledgeable about algae raised their hand, oh, Halophila is not a Limu. And I didn't know how to answer that. You're right. I didn't know how to answer that. And then I went to, so you guys can. I went to the Hawaiian definition of Limu, and the Hawaiian definition, a general name for all kinds of plants living on the water, both marine and fresh. Also, algae growing in any damp place in the air, on the ground, on rocks, and other plants, also mosses, liverworts, and lichens. So algae is actually a subset of Limu. Limu encompasses a lot more. So when we talk about the Hawaiian definition of Limu, underwater marine plants, so Halophila, seagrass, considered Limu. So next time somebody, oh, what? Diatoms, yeah. Yeah, diatom, photosynthetic, yeah. Diatoms, dinoflagellates. Good question. So the next time, and nobody's ever asked me that question since, but I'm ready to give an answer next time. Kilo, the main topic for this discussion, and it's I want to classify it as Hawaiian observation. But Kilo, we've been involved with a lot of indigenous people throughout, not only nationwide, but throughout the world. And every indigenous community, indigenous people have the same, they have a different word for it, but essentially Kilo. And the Hawaiian definition of Kilo, to observe closely for the purpose of discovering something. And it gives heed to signs in order to forecast, and that's what we do in modern science. Yeah, we study things, we perform experiments for the purpose of trying to predict the future. And so this is part of Kilo, is that Hawaiian science version of modern science. Study and examine. Okay. Traditional ecological knowledge is sometimes referred by other labels. So I talked about becoming involved with other indigenous peoples throughout the world, actually. And it's TEK is sometimes has other labels: indigenous science, native science, First Nation science. We just learned that we were in Canada recently, you and I, and I like that. I like that terminology, First Nations. Some of the elements, for me, the elements of Kilo and Hawaiian or indigenous science is the difference between indigenous science and modern society. We're thinking of modern society and modern science is the relationship. So every place we go, we talk to indigenous people. They always talked about the emotional connection with the resources, and they treat the rivers, the mountains, or the plants and the Limu. They treat it like a member of their own family, and so there's no exploitation. Modern society today, it's a big part of it is corporate greed. A big part of it is exploiting. Our resources are there for somebody to make money. That's never happens with indigenous peoples. Another element of Kilo is long-term collection of data. And again, every place we go, we talk to indigenous people that talked about learning from their parents, from their grandparents, and knowledge that's passed down for many, many generations. Over here in Hawaii, like, we have maybe close to 1,000 years of passing down that knowledge. In other places, they have thousands of years of learning and learning about their environment, about their resources. And for in Hawaii, Olelo Noyao is like a traditional sayings or wise sayings, and it's, for me, it's an easy way to learn, to kind of perpetuate knowledge, to learn. We're not talking about causation, and we're talking about correlation. And I use these terms because, I have a degree in marine biology. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in marine biology. So I did those lab reports, and, they always talk about, causation. Correlation is not causation. And that's important to modern science. In Hawaiian science, it's not important. It doesn't have to be, we're not looking for something happening here is a cause of something else happening here. We're looking at the correlation. Yeah. So when we see something here, that correlates to something else here. Sorry, it sounds a little bit confusing, but I have an example for you. I was able to go to Ho'okena. I think that was my first Eluku gathering. I forget where. You remember what year that Ho'okena gathering was? Or would have been like 2000? No, would have been Uncle Henry, about 2008, 2007, 2008. Anyway, we're in Ho'okena, and one of the activities was Uncle Damien was hosting that gathering, and one of the activities was how to harvest bana. Yeah, how to harvest, and then it's using using certain implements. So you get poked by the bana, and then coming out and using like a mesh basket to shake it to get off all of the spines, and then that way you can open up the vana and use the eat the gonads. So as this was going on, I'm sitting under this tree, this hala tree with Uncle Damien, and asked, I have a question. How you know when to go harvest the vana? Like, because in my use of spearfishing, I've opened up urchins, and certain times no more nothing. Yeah. No more nothing gonads. So you don't want to kill the animal with nothing to eat. So he told me, this is what he told me. Palakahala momona kavana. This is on Olelo Noyao. And what that means is, so this is the hala tree, pandanus. That's a palakahala means the fruit is ripe. When the fruit of the hala tree is ripe, momono is nice and fat. The vana is nice and fat. So, like, in modern science technique, you would go out and survey, do an annual survey, you would check the gonads, like, oh, no good, oh, no good, oh, it's good, and so we're talking about passing on knowledge and traditional ecological knowledge. Hawaiians don't have to do that survey. They know palakahala. Okay, now it's time to go harvest vana. Uncle Henry Changwo, as mentioned earlier, I was going to talk about two people. Uncle Henry Changwo, unfortunately, he passed in 2015.
I'm sorry, I'm messing this up. I just wanted to online, they can see the notes.
Okay, reclaiming my time. Here we go. Like 2
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. Okay. Uncle Henry Changwo. I was going to school at HPU. Any HPU graduates in here? Yeah. All right. During that time, oh, by the way, I finally graduated in 2014. Age 60, I got my college degree. But as I was going to school, I found temporary job at Pai or Hi'ia doing the Hi'ia fish pond restoration work. And through that work, I was introduced to Uncle Henry. And in 2009, Uncle Henry asked me to help him with his efforts in doing Limu education, Limu outreach. And the thing about Uncle Henry is like Uncle Henry learned about Limu from his mom and his grandmother along the Ever Beach shoreline, along the Oneola shoreline. And as you know, his mentors were getting old. You know, he realized that it was going to be up to him to pass on their knowledge. And if he doesn't pass that on, we're going to lose that knowledge forever. So he took it upon himself. And for a long time, Uncle Henry was the person. If he wanted somebody to come and talk about Limu, to go into the schools, to share about Limu, Uncle Henry was the one that everybody would contact. And 2009, you know, I was fortunate enough that he asked me to help him in all of those efforts. So I got to tag along with him to go to different communities throughout the state, talk about Limu. And for me, it was like a huge eye-opening and Limu education, Limu education thing. This is one of my favorite photos. So this is around 2012. And from 2009 up until this time, you know, it was Uncle Henry, and he would do the presentation. And if I got lucky, then I would be given the last like 10, 15 minutes to talk. But around this time was surprising, and I didn't realize until a couple years later, you know, as he was getting weak, he was starting. I think he was starting to feel weak and starting to feel effects of cancer. But we didn't know at this time around this period. So he started to push me up in front. So he said, next time we do a talk, you go first. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then so this is like symbolic of him, you know, pushing me up front. And so this is one of the things I always try to present when I talk about Limu. Okay, for those of you who didn't grow up here in Hawaii, this is the Oneola or Ever Beach shoreline. This photo is taken off of the internet. So, you know, one of those old, you know, old historic photos website. And so this is what the shoreline used to look like. At Ever Beach. And you see a lot of people harvesting Limu, but they're not harvesting so much from the water. It's the sort of, you see there's so much Limu in the water, yeah? You don't want to go swimming in there because get into your shorts and your sunsu and you're itchy. When you go home, you take a shower, you can still smell the Limu. But so this is how people used to harvest Limu. And so at high tide, all the Limu would come up on the shoreline. As the tide recedes, it would leave all that Limu there. So we just go by foot through it and pick whatever Limu we wanted. And this is what the shoreline looked like from the mouth of Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor is like way off on the right side of the screen. And Barbers Point is way over here on the left side of the screen. So this is how the entire shoreline used to look like. Here's another photo. I like this photo because we know the location of where this baby is sitting. And Oneola Beach Park, as you enter the park, there were like house lots on the shoreline side. And one of those house lots was the Lions Club. So people who grew up in Ever Beach, they know this place because this is where the baby luau's used to take place, you know, the community gatherings used to take place. And I guess it's one of these gatherings that this photo was taken of this baby sitting on top of that bed of Limu. Okay, note the location and the date, yeah, 1977. This is Uncle Henry, same place. Because we know where the location of that first photo was taken, we took his photo, same place. Can you imagine the baby sitting down on that, in that same spot? Yeah. And we're talking like 35 years So in one lifetime, we went from like this to this. So what happened? Everybody's asking the question, what happened? What happened to the Limu? What happened to the Limu? And we usually, when we ask Kupuna about that, people who in the area who used to go and harvest, they said, oh, too many people come. Then they take too much. They don't leave for other people, and they pull Limu from the roots. So Limu don't have roots, but that's how people understand it. Yeah. So it's a when we harvest Limu, we need to leave the holdfast. There's a proper harvesting technique so that the Limu can continue to grow. And also we want to take. People always say, only take what you need. And I want to change that thought. It's not take what you need. It's take what the resource can provide. Yeah. And well, I might go over time. I wasn't planning to say that, to talk about this, but I think I should. So take what you need. Yeah, that's what we hear everybody saying. Oh, no, take too much. Just take what you need. But the example I was given in talking with somebody about this is that, so suppose you come across a school of 10 moi. You have your throw net, yeah, and you have 5 people to feed at home. Yeah, a school of 10 moi, you're gonna throw, you're gonna catch 5 moi and release the other 5. That's according to take what you need. You need 5. I'm gonna take 5. But what we've learned over the years, and a big part of it is due to Uncle Mac. If you have 10 moi, that's not enough to create the next generation. So you leave that fish, you leave the school alone. You will catch something else to feed your family. Yeah. So it's not take what you need, it's take what the resource can provide. And if you come across a school of like 10,000 moi and you have 5 people to feed at home, hey, go catch 20, go catch 30 and share with people. Yeah. For your family, share with people. Especially Uncle Mac's philosophy is about sharing with people who can no longer go to the shoreline and catch fish. Yeah, it's all about supporting the community. Okay, so sorry, I should have started the video as I was talking. So when people say, "Oh, too over harvesting, improper harvest method," if that was the main reason why we lost the Limu out at Oniwula, we'd still have the piles of Limu. Uncle Henry called it Opala Limu. If I don't eat it, if I don't know how to use it, it's Opala. There's many different kinds of Limu that people didn't harvest. And so if over-harvesting, improper harvest method was the main cause of the loss of Limu, we'll still have piles of Limu at low tide. We're just not kind of finding the Manawea, the Lipoa, the Vavaiole, the short list of Limu that people actually go and harvest. And so Kupuna always talk about freshwater. Freshwater, that's the terminology that Kupuna use. Today, modern science is recognizing the importance of that water to the shoreline and to our Limu. And so it's giving a label of SGT, submarine groundwater discharge. I gotta think about that. Everybody heard about that? Submarine groundwater discharge? This is important source of nitrogen to feed our Limu. And so I get one more video to show so I can talk. So the previous video was what we saw when 2 days ago. Well, not what we saw some of that, but this video is taken at the same place. Yeah, at Vavamalu. This is actually on the Oniwula shoreline. And Uncle Henry, this is in, I believe, 2018. And Uncle Henry and I walked the shoreline many times since 2009. Many times. We never saw this SGD, this underwater, this freshwater spring. And I put my foot in the video to give you scale of the size. Yeah. And so it's not a real big spring, but it's a the biggest I've ever come across, and the biggest discharge of groundwater that I've seen ever since. I've never came across this again since, but shows you how the shoreline used to look like how much water used to come out along the shoreline. And we've lost a lot of that SGD. Okay, quick. And why, why? And this is the story that I've come up with, and the story that it's through talking to people, learning about certain things, and this is my conclusion as to why we lost the groundwater. This is the Oneola Beach shoreline. Oneola Beach Park. This is Papipi Road. You see Papipi Road coming down, and this is Oneola Beach Park. Sorry, the people enough on off-site cannot see where I'm pointing. But if you look from the right side of the screen, you see a diagonal road coming down towards the shoreline. That's Papipi Road, and off to the right, off screen, coming down from the top to Papipi Road is Fort River Road. Just to give you context of where this is. So Oneola Beach Park, from the right around that turn all the way to here. 1961. What we need to notice is the almost the entire Everplains was in agriculture at that time. Yeah, what you see are sugarcane fields. And 61, we had plenty Limu. 2013, same place here, Papipi Road coming down diagonally. This is Oneola Beach Park. That spring that I showed you earlier was right on here. The Lions Club house lot was on. So you see the transition from agriculture to urbanization. And why do I think that that's a major cause of the loss of the groundwater? It's impermeable surfaces. And so when we're in agriculture, yeah, we get big rain. What happens to the big rain? It permeates down and recharges the aquifer. What happens when we get big rain with impermeable surface? Two negative factors. One, that rainwater is not able to percolate down to recharge the aquifer. Number two, we have surface runoff. All the silt, opala, all that stuff, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, all gets washed down to a shoreline, right where Limu. Let us to try. Okay, Matt Poi Poi. I always like to talk to. I learn a lot from Uncle Matt. He has this like universal perspective. When I say universal, I don't mean he's a universal perspective of marine resource management. And when I say universal, like he doesn't study just organisms or individual organisms. He studies the entire ecosystem and the interaction of the different organisms within. So he's mainly concerned about the decline of the lobster and the moi fishery in Mo'omoi. Oh, by the way, this is Ka'awaloa Bay. His prime. You can see he's very intense, and when you see him, when he looks at stuff, he looks very intently. And so when I talk about the universal perspective, he explained to me one time some of the stuff. I call this early morning conversations with Uncle Matt. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to stay at his house like many times, and the best learning experience is getting up early in the morning. He gets up really early. No matter how early I get up, he's always there, at the breakfast counter, drinking his coffee. So I get up, I make my coffee, and I sit down, and I learn a lot of stuff from him. And one of the things we talked about was the tides and currents. and how the sun and the moon, what is that? The direction and um, how the sun, the moon, or even Earth's rotation. Yeah, he explained all this to me. Yeah, the sun and the moon on this line, you get high tide, and if they're in diagonal, then you get the medium tide. But also there's the effect of the. And I'm listening to this. I'm kind of amazed because it took me a college class in oceanography to learn all of this. And he and one of the most impressive things that we were up in one time, and somebody asked, "What can you talk about the moon phases?" And we're sitting down in a circle, just talking story, and somebody asked, "Oh, about moon phases." And in the gravel, without getting up or without sitting up, and with his toe, he draws this diagram in the gravel, and he explains all the moon phases around the circle with his toe. So that's one of my aha moment. This guy. When we talk about resource management, it's a lot of times a lot of people look into the environmental level. This guy universal, not only global but universal. So one of the things he talked about was what he taught me is you cannot manage what you don't know. When we talk about resource management, you got to know what you're talking about. You got to know what you're trying to manage, and the way to know it is through Kilo. He said you got to go. And you cannot not just learn from other people. You cannot just read about it. So you got to go and you got to do the work, and the work is the Kilo. You got to go like Trevor asked me. Oh, you guys go all over the island? We cannot because it's too much time, too much effort. So we select two areas, Oneula and Avavamalu. And so we try to Kilo in those specific areas. Oh, another thing he did, one time I went down with him to the Ka'avaloa room that walked down to the beach, and he had the string and he tied a piece of shrimp to the string. I'm like, what you doing? I mean, okay, the way that the Hawaiian system of teaching is no talk. You don't talk. You don't ask questions. You just follow, you look, you observe, and that's how you learn. So he ties a shrimp onto the string, and he just tossed the string on the wash. And then what he was doing was monitoring the abundance of the sand turtles. And so sand turtles are important food for the moi fishery. And so not only watching, and he's in his mind, what he's doing is he's seeing how many sand turtles come out for that one piece of bait. And in his mind, he has all of this data of, like certain times, plenty coming at one time. The day that he was doing this, zero sand turtles coming out. And that was a little bit alarming for him. But that's what he does consistently. Now go back to Uncle Henry Eva Beach Limu project, and this was an 11-year effort to try to bring back. This is on the close to that first photo I showed that I took off the internet. And this location is right around that. I think that was in the same place you see the coconut trees in the back. And Uncle Henry is that you see in the back with the lei with the white tank top. That's Uncle Henry. And with the green shirt, Uncle Walter Kamana. Uncle Walter was the speaker at these Limu planting events. For 11 years, once a month, they would just gather at the Oneula shoreline, set up a tent, and anybody in the community could come and listen to Uncle Walter. But as they were doing this, they would make limu leis. And limu leis, at the end of the session, they would take the limu lei and take it out, offshore and tie it around on rocks. And for the effort of trying to bring back the limu that was once so abundant. And this is the this is the mission statement. You know, we talk about organizations and trying to create a vision and mission statement, and we try to consolidate, make it a short, you know, a short sentence or two. This was the at least for me, this is their vision statement for Ever Beach Limu project. Where are the older women that used to walk on Hawaiian shores with their children following close behind, looking through squid boxes or feeding with their feet for Limu to feed their family? Where are the children playing in the sand, catching crabs, swimming in the water? Where are the men laying or throwing net to feed their families? Where are the families camping and sharing days on the beach, enjoying the warm sun, nights cooled by ocean breezes and the beauty of the ocean? Why is it parents no longer teach their children about the ways of the ocean and how to care for the earth? How the ocean care for the earth? Because we have forgotten, and these things are slowly becoming no more. And this is what I talked about earlier about the relationship, yeah, with people and the resource, and the disconnect that has been happening for several generations now. I think we need to connect people back to our resources, help restore what once was. Keep this in mind as I talk the rest of my talk, because this is the vision that we're trying to follow. This is the modern Ever Limu project. We shortened it in our official name was Ever Beach Limu project. It's since been shortened to Ever Limu project. And so this is the modern version of trying to teach the next generation. And it's all about getting Keiki out of, I always get a smile or a laugh when I say this, is because I think we know it's true, but it's too true. It's about getting Keiki out of the house, and getting them, stopping them from doing this all day, and getting them out, taking them out to the ocean, showing them our resources, yeah, and at least recognizing that that this is important. This is important to you, but this is also important to your children, to your grandchildren. So we need to perpetuate this this effort and this knowledge. Now, Trevor asked me to, optimistic or pessimistic about the future, and I said, especially in the last few years, we've been getting like very optimistic, and this really helps my optimism. So Waimanalo, this is Limu Lipoa. And Limu Lipoa, we've never, even talking to the people, the fishermen in this community, they said in up to 25 years ago, they used to have annual abundance of Limu Lipoa washing up on shore. They haven't seen Lipoa in close to 25 years. And all of a sudden, 2020, we get this, it's crazy. And so part of the optimism is that our marine resources can recover. If given a chance, it can recover. So, and maybe we can help it along, but also, maybe we don't, it's not necessary for us to help it along. We just gotta try and not kill it, not be detrimental to our resources, yeah. So Waimanalo Limu Hui, once a month, Limu planting. If you guys are interested, you guys should at least go have that experience. Waimanalo Limu Hui website, they have a schedule. They stopped the Limu planting because of the pandemic for the last 2 years. They just started up again, and they're gonna consistently hold monthly Limu plantings. Kaiona Beach Park. And this is a Limu layer that I was talking about earlier about Ever Limu project doing. And the thing about Limu planting, Limu restoration, and this may come as a shock to almost everybody when I say this, it's not about Limu. It's not about the restoration of Limu. It's the restoration of the community. It's the restoration of a resilient community. It's the restoration of the keiki, getting keiki come back to the ocean and understanding our resources. Yeah. And so Waimanalo Limu Hui, they've been doing this for about 6 years now. And it's not about, they don't do Limu surveys. Yeah. People in this room, if you put on this kind of effort, oh, we got a survey. We got to see the effect, yeah, of what we're doing. And when I was first approached by Waimanalo Limu Hui, they asked me to come to the meeting and say, oh, teach us how to plant limu. We want to do that. And my initial thought going to the meeting was to talk them out of it. Because what I told them was that if your measure of success is your limu survey and how much limu you can get growing in that area, your measure of success is going to be minimum, if not zero. But if your measure of success is a more resilient community, is getting people to understand and help with maintaining and recovering our resource, then you have a much better measure of success that you can see. They were getting, prior to the pandemic, they were getting 40 to 60 people at each of the monthly limu plantings. And because of that, there's Pahono Fish Pond that's like right adjacent. Right, actually, it's right behind Obama's new home in Waimanalo. And because they were there at Kaiona Beach Park doing a monthly limu planting, they saw the Pahono Fish Pond wall that was deteriorated. And so they added the restoration of Pahono wall to their effort. This is Uncle Alan on the right screen. Talk about that vision statement from Uncle Henry and the Yellow Beach Limu Project. It's about getting keiki out from the Lanai High School. And I was really surprised when Uncle Alan, he said, the kids on the high school, kids on Lanai, they're not ma'a to hunting, they're not ma'a to fishing, they're not ma'a to like gathering limu. Like, what? On Lanai, I thought that was part of their lifestyle. No, and he told me this too, they don't stay home and do this. And so he had this project where he brought the Lanai High School kids. And to this effort, this photo that was being taken is the cleaning up of the shorelines, rubbish bags. For getting the kids, there's Uncle Alan in that yellow shirt in the back, and back center. And on the right screen, right photo, that's Uncle Alan. So we were sending limu to Uncle Alan pretty often. And so they were doing a limu lay and planting out in ocean. And after like several months, he called me after, hey, every month, like, oh, I need some more limu for the next planting. I need some more limu. And then afterwards, like, how come all the limu disappearing? Well, the question was, you have turtles on that reef? He go, yeah, you should come at like at minus tide, like they stack upon each other on the reef. Yeah. Oh, I think the turtle's eating your limu. So he came up with this cage and to protect the limu from the turtles. And I never heard from him. He never asked for limu for a long time. So this is the result of his cage method. Unfortunately, Uncle Alan passed away like a couple months after this photo was taken. But his daughter Cheryl continues the Lanai Limu Restoration Project, and we continue to help them with that effort. Ko'olau Limu Restoration Project. This was started by Hosea Lovell, and I heard about this project in the 1990s. And then they stopped. It's a limu restoration, limu planting using a smaller cage along the Aliomanu shoreline. And the effort stopped because somebody came and stole all the cages. And so we got to meet his daughter. By that time, Hosea passed away, Nalani Kaneakua. one of the things that happens with the Limu is we inspire people, you know. We let people know that what they know about Limu is important. And because too many times, yeah, we run across kupuna who, oh, you wanna come to our Limu gathering and share about Limu? Oh, nobody like know Limu anymore. Nobody wants to learn about Limu. But when they come to our gatherings and they find out that there are other people like them, it kind of reinvigorates them. And that's what happened with Nalani Kanyakua. Unfortunately, I don't think she's in this photo. But anyway, so she resurrected Ko'olau Limu Restoration Project, and they do they continuously do limu planting. But it's about the community. It's about the kids, yeah. And so they have a program where in this photo they're teaching the keiki here hula based on limu. So community resilience, community restoration. Okay, almost about like a couple more. So Hana Limu, another thing that Limu Hui does and our Ewa Limu project does is, especially in the last few years, people have been interested in learning about the Limu in the area. And that's a sad thing. Yeah, people from the community, they've been disconnected from Limu so long. They don't know what to look at. They don't know what to gather or how to gather. So we've been asked we were asked to come to Hana and work with the community. This is so this past when was that? August. This past August, we broke up into 3 teams to 3 different locations along the Hana coast. This is I was with this team that was at Maka'alai, and the fun part was that people that lived right across the street from the highway, they came down and they joined us, and this is what it is. And we heard stories or memories of, oh yeah, my father used to do this. Oh, my grandma used to do, collect limu, but I didn't learn. I don't know how. So it's resurrecting that knowledge and resurrecting that interest in limu, and in doing so, it's restoration of the not only the shoreline but of the entire Ahupua'a, because everything maka of that shoreline is important to limu. And this was in last June. We were asked by the PKO, Protect Kaho'olawe Ohana, to same thing. They want to learn about the limu on Kaho'olawe. So a team of us went there and walked the shoreline with PKO folks and did a survey. Learned a lot about limu, about silt, about the runoff. And this is the last. So this is that on the right side with the red jacket is there's Uncle Emmett Aluli. So the funding for this project was supposed to be twice a year, June and December. And in our December trip, a week before we were supposed to leave to go to Kaho'olawe, that's when Uncle Emmett passed away. But we were going anyway, and it was for him, and we all said Uncle Emmett would want us to go. But unfortunately, the weather turned bad. That day, that morning, we got canceled out because of the high winds. Because we have to catch a boat there all the way from Maui to Hakiawa. What is Hakiawa? But Hakiawa is like off to the right, the screen. And so the boat captain and organizers determined that winds were too strong for a safe crossing. So we had to postpone that trip. So we scheduled. We just had a conversation. I don't know, you don't know yet, but May 23rd, around that time, and it's going to be like a Monday to Thursday survey. And so, questions. So some information if you want to learn about Ku'a Aina Ulu'au more. Go to the website kuahawaii.org. Wamanalo Limu Hui, Wamanalo Limu Hui.org. Ever Limu project. I guess you gotta email me. Okay. Thank you.
You want to take questions from people in the room, and I can read off some from.
Can I sit down? I can answer. Can they hear?
I think so.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah. Is Cheryl still doing the turtle proof cages over on Lanai?
Yeah.
It's still going.
Well, they stopped all efforts due to the pandemic.
Oh.
So there's in trying to restart again. And the problem with Lanai is that it's such a small community. And for her to get consistent volunteers has been a challenge. But she's, the good thing is that she's still willing to keep at it. Yeah.
No, I know.
Because so many things, it's such a small community. Have something happening, in town. Pretty much the whole island goes there. And so, yeah.
Someone was asking to see all those contacts again. So I'm trying to share.
It's the last.
Yeah, I think I'm sharing it. Let's see, someone asked, what's your favorite Limu you don't see that you hope can make a comeback?
That's first time I'm asked that. I usually ask what's the favorite Limu.
Yeah.
That I don't see that I hope to make a comeback. Well, the good thing about going to Kilo places, and it's not that we don't go to other places on the island. It's just that we try to be consistent in these two areas. So we have gone to different places and we have learned a lot. In fact, one of the Limu that we're doing over here is Ikaha. Is what we found that on one of our Limu walks on the North Shore. 3 summers, I think this summer we make third summer. So my favorite Limu that I don't see, I'm happy to say that I see all my favorite Limu. It's not in abundance that I would like to see, but if you look good enough, you find it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So another, there's this Limu, the Limu Lu'au is a Hawaiian name. What's another Hawaiian name? Pahe'e. Limu Pahe'e. Pahe'e refers to slippery. And this is the Porphyra. If you're familiar with your spam musubi, nori, that nori, that's a Porphyra species. It comes from Japan. Hawaii has its version of that Porphyra species. And that's something that I was looking for a long time. Because I heard about it from Kupuna. We go to different places, especially remote communities, and I asked, do you have Limu Lu'au here? Yeah. Over there at the point, right by that big rock on the shore, like, can we go? I see, harvest anything? I just want to see where it goes. Like, no, we're gonna come back winter time. It's a short-lived Limu. It comes out. You need 2. What I've learned since is that you need 2 two environmental factors to happen around the same time, and one is big waves, and the second is big rain. And so the first time I came across the Pahe'e, it's actually going above the intertidal. And for Limu people, for shoreline people, like, that don't make sense. Limu growing above the intertidal. Talk about dry rock.
Yeah.
And that's why you need that when you get that big surf, that big surf washes. It has to be like for a period of time. Yeah, it's gonna keep wetting that rock. And when you get big rain, the Pahe'e comes out. And it's probably gonna stay there until the waves stop going.
Any other questions here?
Picture from June of 2020 where like all of the winds washed up from the beach. Do you think that was like mainly just from like being on the beaches for so long, or like because we haven't seen that side?
Yeah, we have. Well, the following year we had the annual washing up of the pool, but not in that abundance. Yeah. 2020, so that'll be 2021. I don't know what happened the last couple of years. Sorry, you said people removal?
Yeah, or like why do you think like,
Oh,
there was
sure.
that side of things?
Yeah. I've thought long and hard on that. Part of it a big part of it has to do with water quality. What happened Malka that year? I don't know. But also, what I've also noticed, like I've been spearfishing for like over 60 years, and there's in certain organisms I have seen like a 25-year cycle, and not necessarily Limu, but first thing was sea slugs, the sea slug, and in like millions, like scary millions, yeah, shallow water, and they're all like in circles. Have you seen that? The sea slugs just like in circle, and they're all like on top of each other. So like they're all like in the reproductive stage. Have you seen that? Like millions, like this whole reef, and nothing but the sea slugs, and which was scary, yeah. But they after a while they disappear. You still see a few around, but then the reef becomes like nice and healthy again. And about 25 years later, I saw it happen again. Not in abundance that I originally saw, but jumping in the water, like, I started to see those circles of sea slug. Oh, here we go again. But it didn't happen in abundance. I saw 25 years later. Another one is Availville. I was fishing. Yeah. Availville. Yeah. I remember in the should be early 1970s. I was a little bit on Kauai. And my folks, but I didn't go at that time, but when we came home, they said it was crazy, Availville, like juveniles in the Wally Harbor. Yeah. And people all with us, like, catching on like one after another. And we also saw it around the same time, only at Honolulu Harbor, at Barbers Point Harbor. About 25 years later, time I had an underwater camera. So, and we were out so people were catching Availville over here. I went on a dive out in Hula and just got to the 45-foot ledge. I went down. I think I have a camera with me at that time. And I saw this like Availville, like, the bright eyes, you see that shining eyes, yeah. Went down and said, so I got my camera. I have a couple of photos of that. And so there seems to be, another one was the sugarfish. They wash up on shore up on the east side, Kokula side, every 20, 25 years. And so, every once in a while, there's this confluence of the right environmental factors that allow certain organisms to just explode. As far as the fish and the sea slugs, I'm pretty sure they're putting on a lot of spores or a lot of
Pheromones.
huh?
Pheromones.
Not pheromones, the
Gametes.
gametes. Yeah, thank you. That's rich and bad. And so they're putting on a lot of gametes, but a typical season, the gametes are food, phytoplankton, food for other organisms. Yeah, so a majority of them don't survive. But apparently at certain times, at certain there's no predation on all these gametes, so they just they grow and they grow out, and that's not good too. Like in the case of the small triggerfish, that kind of colorful one is small, but they have nothing to eat, so they'll die and wash up the shore. And I'm guessing that something like that happened to the limu. There's no predation of the limu resource outside. And the limu, the photo that you see are all detached from the holdfast. Yeah. And so people say, oh, why don't you get that limu? We'll throw them in the tank and let them go. No, these are all dead or dying. So the time to harvest the limu is when you see it and go. You gotta go and you gotta take what you want. And the thing about limu too is that it's all about cleaning. So you can grab plenty, take more money, spend hours cleaning. So, yeah, good question. Because I've been thinking about that. Why? I like to think. Okay.
That's good.
I like to think that part of it is the limu planting effort by the Waimanalo Limu. One of the things that, so Waimanalo Limu Hui, and when I told them that it's not a matter of getting the limu to go, they are not doing, so they forgot about limu surveys. But the survey that they are doing from the beginning, they have a Google spreadsheet that anybody in the community has access to. And so what they're doing is anybody, you make an observation on the shoreline, especially in and around Cayona Beach Park. Go to the Google Sheet, date, time, what you see. Yeah. And one of the contributors, some of the contributors to the spreadsheet are if you know where Cayona Beach Park, anytime you pass by, you pull into the beach park, go and get regulars. It's the old time fishermen, and they're just hanging out. They don't go fishing anymore. They just hanging out. So some of the observations that they have contributed, like the color, big color fish coming to the shore. We haven't seen that, that school of big fish in 25 years. I have I have a strong feeling that the limu planting is part of that, because the limu planting, you go back and the limu will disappear, and that's okay. It's food for the fish, so it creates a healthy ecosystem, shoreline ecosystem. But the whole idea, I should have mentioned this earlier, the whole idea of limu planting, restoration is not to have the limu growing in that area. It's for reproduction, for the limu that you plant to release spores. And the spores are going to find its way wherever. A big reason why there's a reason why the limu in that place is started to decline or started to disappear. And so is that the thing that we got to take care of in order to bring back the abundance that we once saw. But in the meantime, it's about just sowing seeds, and then hoping that those seeds find tides and currents, find some place that's conducive to their growth. And sorry for talking too much. going back to the Uncle Allen and that Limu cages. So you saw the success that he got. Yeah. But again, it's not about growing Limu in confined cages. It's about restoration of the shoreline, getting Limu to grow. So the second year that he started this, again, I was water camp, jumped in the water, and I have photos of sprigs of that Limu so attached to sort of outside of cages. So at least for me, in my mind, at least in my Hawaiian science mind, that's proof of concept. Maybe modern science, or no, we need more proof, we need to collect data. Another thing too is we went 3 years later, we were helping out with the restoration of a white fish pond. It's like 3 miles down the coastline from what several folks calls it a Limu farm. 3 miles down from the Limu farm, yeah. And we're doing restoring a white fish pond wall. So we're picking up rocks and you know, filling in coral, filling in two lines of basalt stones, and we fill that inside with coral, you know. And I have photos of 5 pick up 8 it's great on this coral. So I took that out and outside the fish pond, put it together. So, you know, a more proof of concept, one that tells me that the distribution range is wide. We talk about reducing spores, and all, you know, the current can take it like far. And so, not having the Limu grow right there, where you know, Limu planting restoration project is not that important. Just know that we're seeding that area for the eventual bringing back. But it's also like Uncle Henry's evolutionary projects vision. It's the next getting this kind of effort, the kind of effort that most of us are involved with is not something I think I mentioned in the video. It's not something that's we're gonna see. It's not something that's gonna happen where we say, okay, we're done. The work is never done. The work is going to continue. In order for us to, you know, to reap the most benefit is for it to continue for generations. And so it's important that we, you know, teach, inspire. I think that's a better word. Inspire the next generation to be able to do, you know, to do what we are doing today and to continue that. So, oh, you forgot to tell me.
Oh, sorry. You invented yourself.
So, Limu Kala, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that Limu Sargasso. And more specifically, I think of Sargasso, we kind of cut from the broadleaf. We saw we had that Limu Kala, Long it's a broadleaf Limu Kala. We have introduced a bill to this year's legislative session to name Limu Kala our state name. We have a state fish, we have a state flower, we have a state this, we have a state that, we don't have a state name. So a big part of it is to help, you know, perpetuate or create, you know, to help create more education and more awareness. See, I told you, you know, I asked him yesterday, how much time do I have? His first response was, oh, as much time as you like. I'm like, no, okay, all day.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. You just have so much wisdom and experience to share with us and everyone out there. So.
Oh, so sorry. I don't know if you guys met. This is me on Tamanaha, and her importance is she started the Limu hui that, you know, we put together to try to recapture and share lost knowledge. And from that first gathering in 2014, she was the pretty kupuna. And then we were like, we see what's gonna happen at this gathering, and then we see, people interested, and see if we can continue this next year. And with the 30 people that came, it generated so much interest. One of the big advocates for Limu was the late chair Colette Shaw. She came to that gathering, and she was re-inspired to do Limu. And she was a big advocate for us. So a lot of it, some big part of it, all her support for our annual Limu gathering was because of her. Just want to mention her name too. Too many of our kupuna passed. Out of the original 30, John Lynn passed last year. Uncle Henry passed in 2015. Uncle Alan passed away. Uncle Tommy Hashimoto, T. Annie passed away. Uncle Teddy Blake passed away. Too many of our kupuna passing, and so it's important for us to continue to Limu and to continue to bring in, identify and bring in these kupuna. And a big part of what our Limu does is to show these kupuna that their knowledge about Limu is important. Too many times they said, "Oh, come and you want to come and join us in the Limu." Well, the question I usually ask is, are you passing on the knowledge to your children, your grandchildren? And almost always the response is, "Nah, they don't like it. Nobody wants to. Not important." And then a Limu gives them that importance. And a lot of times it kind of reinvigorates not only their knowledge or importance of Limu, but it reinvigorates their life. I think we, I think we help to extend their life because they look forward to coming to the annual gathering. So support our Limu, support our bill to make Limu Kala state Limu.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. So thank you to everybody online too, listening. Uncle Wally shares wisdom with all of us. Thanks so much.